the Nutrition English Lab.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Nutrition English Lab. I'm Dr. Freddy, and I want to start with a question. If you've used a spell checker, a search engine, or a citation manager in the last week, then you've already used AI. The tools we're talking about today are simply more powerful extensions of that same idea, machines that help you process information faster and more efficiently. 2 years ago, I was skeptical. I thought AI tools were only for tech professionals, not for dietitians. But then a colleague showed me how to use ChatGPT to draft a patient education handout on the Mediterranean diet in under 3 minutes, and that completely changed my perspective. That's why today we're going to explore the main AI tools available to nutrition professionals, researchers, clinicians, and educators. For each tool, I'll give you a realistic, practical use case. No theory, no hype, just examples you can try this week. We'll also talk about limitations. These tools are powerful, but they have real risks, especially in healthcare. Understanding how to prompt, evaluate, and refine AI outputs is becoming a key professional skill in our field. Because this is a broad topic, we'll divide it into 3 episodes. In this first episode, I'll focus on common large language models like ChatGPT and Claude, as well as tools like NotebookLM, which acts as a personal research assistant, and AI databases such as Scopus AI. Ready to continue? Don't worry, I will explain every tool step by step. Right, you can see my screen. Let's start with ChatGPT. This is the interface. Now, let's ask it to generate a dietary plan for a patient with chronic kidney disease, stage 5, with a glomerular filtration rate of 15.2, albuminuria A3, albumin at 2.5 grams per deciliter, potassium at 5.5 milliequivalents per liter, and fluid overload of 2.5 liters. Here's the result. It clearly states that it cannot prescribe an individualized medical diet, but it can outline a clinically appropriate nutrition plan. And that's exactly how we should use it, as a draft, not a final answer. It provides clinical priorities, key nutritional targets, guidance on managing critical nutrients like potassium, sodium, and fluids, and even includes a sample meal plan. Importantly, it emphasizes that this is a high-risk renal patient, and the diet must restrict potassium, sodium, fluids, and phosphorus, provide adequate calories and high-quality protein, and avoid worsening malnutrition. Now let's move on to Claude, which in my opinion is also a very useful AI tool. We'll ask the same question. Prescribe a diet for a patient who has CKD, stage 5, with GFR 15.2, albuminuria A3, 450 milligrams per gram, albumin, 2.5 grams per deciliter, potassium, 5.5 MEQ per liter, and OH, overhydration, plus 2.5 liters. Here's the result. Claude provides a more structured dietary prescription. The format is different, more colorful that allows to see the differences, but the recommendations are largely consistent with ChatGPT. However, Claude tends to include more detailed explanations and clinical reasoning. It emphasizes nutrient control, provides macronutrient breakdowns, includes food guidance based on potassium content, and offers a sample meal plan. It also explains the rationale behind each decision. For example, it highlights the need to balance protein restriction with the risk of protein energy wasting, the importance of controlling potassium due to arrhythmia risk, and the need for strict fluid and sodium management in a patient with significant fluid overload with near-absent renal fluid regulation. Also, it points out the following. In this CKD stage 5 patient, dietary management requires balancing competing priorities. Protein intake is maintained at 0.6 to 0.8 grams per kilogram per day using high biological value sources, egg white, fish, poultry, and not restricted further because the combination of albumin 2.5 grams per deciliter and massive albuminuria indicates protein energy wasting, where deeper restriction would worsen sarcopenia and mortality. Keto analogous may bridge stricter uremic control without worsening PEW. Potassium is limited to 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams per liter with vegetable leaching, strict avoidance of salt substitutes, and adjunct potassium binders given that K plus 5.5 MEq per liter poses an arrhythmia risk that diet alone cannot safely correct at GFR 15. Fluid is capped at less than 1,000 milliliters per day, alongside sodium restriction to less than 2 grams per day, since sodium drives thirst and water retention in a patient already plus 2.5 liter overloaded with near absent renal fluid regulation. Phosphorus is controlled at 600 to 900 milligrams per day by favoring organic over inorganic sources and prescribing phosphate binders with every meal, and the entire prescription should be reassessed at dialysis initiation when protein targets rise to 1.1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram per day, and fluid and electrolyte allowances are liberalized according to residual diuresis and dialysis frequency. This level of explanation can be particularly useful for learning and clinical reasoning, not just for generating content.
Now let's move on to another tool. This one has completely changed how I approach research. NotebookLM, a free tool from Google. The key difference compared to tools like ChatGPT is this: you provide your own documents, and the system only works with those sources. It does not generate information from outside them. In clinical and research settings, this limitation is actually a strength. Here's how it works. You upload a document or any other type of file, for example, a scientific article, as in this case, and the system processes it automatically. It generates a summary highlighting the main ideas of the text, and you can then ask questions directly about the content. It also includes several interesting features. For instance, you can generate a podcast based on the text, a short video explaining the main theme of the document, infographics, and quizzes to evaluate your understanding, among others. For example, you can ask, "What is the aim of this study?" and it will provide a clear, structured answer based only on the document, often indicating the specific sections where the information is found. It can also generate mind maps very quickly, highlight key themes, show how the information is organized, and categorize content into main topics, subtopics, global trends, and applications depending on the document being analyzed. You can continue asking questions such as the main findings or conclusions of the research, and it will extract and explain the key points in detail. Overall, NotebookLM transforms static documents into an interactive learning experience, helping you analyze, understand, and retain complex information more effectively. It serves as a powerful artificial intelligence assistant for research and learning.
Finally, for academic researchers, AI tools integrated into literature databases are becoming truly transformative. For example, Scopus, one of the largest academic databases in the world, now includes Scopus AI. This feature allows you to ask research questions in natural language and receive structured, evidence-based answers with citations drawn directly from indexed scientific literature. Instead of building complex Boolean search strategies with multiple keywords and filters, you can simply ask a question like, "What is the relationship between liver failure and heart failure?" Scopus AI then generates a synthesized response, organizing the information into key themes and supporting each point with references to relevant studies. This thematic organization is especially useful because it helps you quickly understand how the evidence is distributed across different areas of research. Another important advantage is that the results are traceable. You can directly access the cited articles, review the abstracts, and move into full-text reading. This keeps the research process transparent and grounded in verified sources. In addition, Scopus AI can help you identify research trends and emerging topics, compare findings across multiple studies, discover key authors, institutions, and frequently cited papers, generate a quick overview of a new topic, which is especially useful when starting a literature review. It also reduces cognitive overload. Instead of manually screening dozens or hundreds of articles, you begin with a structured synthesis that helps you decide where to focus your attention. However, it's important to remember that this tool does not replace critical reading. You still need to evaluate study quality, understand methodologies, and interpret results within the proper clinical context. So, while Scopus AI can significantly accelerate the discovery and initial synthesis phase, the responsibility for analysis and interpretation always remains with the researcher. In short, it doesn't replace the research process, it makes it more efficient, more focused, and more accessible. To bring everything together, today's nutrition professionals have access to tools that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. AI can help you find evidence faster, write clearer patient materials, prepare better lectures, understand complex texts, and manage the overwhelming amount of information in modern healthcare. But AI is a tool, not a colleague, not a clinician, and not an author. It does not carry professional responsibility. It does not know your patient, and it cannot make ethical decisions. Every use of AI must be guided by a trained professional who takes full responsibility for the final outcome. And before we finish, just two things. First, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you can continue learning with us. And second, stay curious, stay critical, and let the machines handle the first draft. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.
The Nutrition English Lab.